So you've decided to start learning Japanese. Great! You've gone through hiragana and katakana and now you're at the final boss of the Japanese alphabet, kanji. Kanji are Chinese characters which are adapted into Japanese, with each having their own meanings and pronunciations. They are symbols that represent different ideas and can be combined to form many different words. You're probably wondering where to start, how on earth a bunch of different lines and shapes could possibly have any meaning to them, and I'm here to tell you one thing. Kanji may be challenging, but it is by no means impossible and anyone can learn it. I'm going to break it down for you into 5 simple steps, explain to you how today's sponsor, MochiKanji Learn Japanese, can help you with your studies, give you some tips to remember and some common pitfalls to avoid, so let's get started. The first thing you're going to do when you're learning kanji is familiarize yourself with the radicals or bushu. These are kanji that are not only standalone characters, but are the building blocks of many more complex kanji. More complex kanji is basically a combination of multiple smaller kanji, i.e. these radicals. They convey meaning, provide context, and can indicate pronunciation. It is so important that you start with learning these kanji first because they're going to help you understand the structure, meaning, and connection between kanji. These kanji will form the foundation of your kanji knowledge so that you can more seamlessly progress and build on what you know. Let's go through a couple of examples together. Here we have hito, which means person, nichi, which is sun, tsuki, which means moon, and ki, which means tree. These kanji are used very often on their own, but also form a radical of many other kanji. For example, if we take hito and ki and put them together, we get yasumi, which means rest, and it's the idea that a person is resting beside a tree. Or if we use nichi and tsuki, we get akira or akarui, which means bright. And this is based off the imagery of the sun and moon and the brightness that is emitted by these two celestial bodies. Kanji is actually very profound once you start to understand why they're used the way they are, and understanding what they're conveying can help you with remembering them. As you're learning the radicals, make sure not to skip out on stroke order. These are rules that must be followed whenever you're writing kanji to ensure that they look accurate and consistent with how they're supposed to be written. There are many similar looking kanji where even a single stroke can change the entire meaning of the word. Like for example, midori, which means green, and en, which means connection. At first glance, they can seem almost identical, so by following the correct stroke order, you're ensuring the accuracy of the character you're trying to write. Not only does stroke order matter, but there are many different types of strokes that are used to write kanji. I wouldn't spend too much time on this, but give yourself an idea and familiarize yourself with the way that kanji is written will not only help you to keep your writing looking neat, but also maintaining correct stroke order. Whenever you're writing kanji, the general rule of thumb is from top to bottom, left to right. Even with different types of strokes, horizontal ones are always going from left to right and vertical ones from top to bottom. As for the first stroke, horizontal always goes before vertical. Take for example ki. This is a vertical kanji, so we're going to start writing it from top to bottom. And because horizontal strokes go before vertical, we're going to write the first horizontal stroke first, and then followed by the vertical one, and finally the last 2 strokes from left to right. You've probably noticed from this example that for relatively symmetrical kanji, the vertical stroke splitting down the middle is written first, followed by the left side, and then finally the right side. For characters that are shaped like a box, these are always written with the sides first, followed by whatever's in the middle, and the sideways stroke at the very bottom always goes last. When I was learning Chinese, my grandma always reminded me to never close the door before entering. So make sure you write whatever's in the middle first before your final sideways stroke. The same rule also applies to these half enclosed kanji like to and chika, which follows the same top to bottom sequence we mentioned earlier, like this. For characters with strokes that cross over each other like an X in diagonals, the right to left stroke will be written before the left to right stroke. Like kanarazu, starting from top to bottom, the first right to left diagonal, left to right diagonal, followed by the left dash and the right dash. Dashes when they're at the top of the kanji, like in our above example of kanarazu, will always be the first stroke. However, when they're anywhere else in the kanji, they will always be last. Like tama, this is written top to bottom with the dash last. For more complex kanji, these are simply a combination of several smaller kanji, and you'll want to approach them as such. You'll want to start with the small kanji on the top left side, then the bottom left, then the top right and bottom right. And from there, it's only a matter of applying the exact same rules to the smaller kanji to the bigger kanji. It might feel overwhelming trying to remember all of these at the beginning, but don't worry, stroke order actually gets pretty intuitive the more you do it. So keep practicing and you'll get the hang of it. Now you may be wondering, how on earth are you going to remember hundreds if not thousands of kanji? And the answer is simple: spaced repetition. This means you're revising the kanji right before your brain can forget it, refreshing it in your memory, and over time, you're able to better retain this information in the long run. These intervals, as you revise the words, start off short in the beginning, and as you remember it and revise it, the intervals gradually get longer. You might be thinking it's difficult to gauge precisely how long these intervals should be, and that's where today's sponsor, MochiKanji Learn Japanese, can help you. MochiKanji is a Japanese learning app with a special feature called the Golden Time, which is based on the spaced repetition learning method. And using your previous learning history, it will determine the optimal intervals for you to revise your kanji when you can remember it best. MochiKanji will organize your learned vocabulary into 5 levels, with 1 being just learned and 5 being in your long-term memory. Sometimes with language learning, it can be really difficult to know your progress, so I like how encouraging it is to be able to see how much vocabulary you've learned and how far you've come with the digital notebook feature. What I've found from a lot of apps is that they tend to become obsolete so quickly because the material progresses really slowly. And especially as I'm preparing to take N2, what I'm finding is that it's really difficult to find an app that is actually challenging enough and goes beyond N4 material. But with MochiKanji, they have over 8,000 words and kanji in their Learn Decks, ranging from N5 to N2 for the exam, as well as specialized courses such as IT, services, nursing, etc. So no matter what, you're bound to find something for your current level and needs. This is going to be so perfect for me as I prepare to take N2 because I can easily find all the kanji I need to know for the exam in one place. MochiKanji will show you the vocabulary in the form of flashcards with furigana and audio so that you can listen for pitch, accent and pronunciation, and along with cute, colorful graphics which are not only extremely fun but will help in memorizing vocabulary by associating them with images. Besides flashcards, these little quizzes also involve listening, reading and writing exercises so that you can review vocabulary in a comprehensive, engaging way that isn't boring and repetitive. When your golden time is up, MochiKanji will send you a notification that it's time to review your learned knowledge. You can practice stroke order of kanji, which will help it stick into your memory quickly and effectively. Not only that, MochiKanji also offers daily conversations with 2 super cute characters, Mochi and Michi, which is a great way to practice output and improve your speaking. And when you come across a word you don't know, you can simply put it into the search tab and it will come up with its word type, meaning, pronunciation, and example sentence. From there, it's super convenient to add it to your digital notebook for reviewing later. This app makes studying so convenient because you can do almost anything within this one app. On that note, you can even connect with other Japanese learners around the world and win exclusive rewards by joining the Mochi Mochi Facebook group and set learning goals for yourself in the Mochi Garden section of the app, where you can grow cute plants and nurture them by staying consistent with your studies. You can download the MochiKanji Learn Japanese app via the App Store or Google Play Store, or if you're on PC, they have a website for you to check out as well. As you're reviewing the kanji through spaced repetition, it's important that you continue to expose yourself to kanji and get used to reading in it. A good way of doing this is by reading manga in Japanese. All kanji comes with furigana, which makes it so helpful for learning kanji you don't yet know and seamlessly transitioning from reading in full hiragana to kanji. Also, set your phone to Japanese. Mine is already, and make a point to read or enjoy whatever you normally do, but in Japanese instead. You don't have to wait until you're fluent enough to start doing something, because you're going to continuously learn along the way. To stay motivated, it's important to change up your study methods every now and then to keep things fresh. Studying doesn't have to be boring or repetitive, and it's something you're allowed to have fun with. A common mistake I see people making when they're learning kanji is stressing too much over the on and kun yomi of a kanji. Kanji can oftentimes be pronounced in more than one way, and it's just like how in English, the same letter is pronounced differently in different words. Like for example, the letter A sounds different in apple as it does to art, but as you start to use these 2 words, you start to remember how the letter A is pronounced in each context instead of memorizing every single way that the letter A is pronounced. Kanji is no different. Kanji is best learned in context, so don't stress too much about the on and kun yomi of a kanji, because as you learn more words, you'll naturally come to grasp which pronunciation to use in which context. Learning kanji isn't something that happens overnight. It takes time. So don't rush yourself if you don't get something right away. Give it some time to sink in. Trust in the spaced repetition learning process, and I promise you, your studying efforts will pay off. Also, I know we talked about stroke order and writing, but don't worry too much about trying to remember how to write every single kanji you come across. Yes, writing is important, but beyond a certain point, the return on investment on the amount of time you spend learning how to write a kanji starts to fall off pretty hard, because these are kanji you most likely will barely use in writing. I learned how to write most of the commonly used ones, but beyond that, I focused almost entirely on learning how to read them now. Writing is pretty obsolete these days, and 90% of the time you'll be fine as long as you can enter it into a keyboard. You'll save yourself a lot of time this way without really missing out on anything. So that's everything I've got about learning kanji. I hope this video motivated you to learn it, because I promise you it is absolutely worth it. Let me know if you found this video helpful. Be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below in the comments, and subscribe if you like seeing content like this. Be sure to check out my other videos about studying Japanese on my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!